This is the next one about polygamy. This is one of the more famous ones. Is that Mormon writings support polygamy? If any man espouse a virgin and desire to espouse another, and the first give her consent, and if he espouse the second and they are virgins and have vowed to no other man, then he is justified. He cannot commit adultery. And if he have 10 virgins given unto him by this law, he cannot commit adultery. Doctrines and Covenants, 132 verses 61 62. The Bible, though, has a little bit something different to say, though. I'll go to the verses. Verse here is Matthew 5 talks about this, about marriage and divorce and adultery. This is Matthew 5:32. But I say to you that whosoever shall put away his wife, same for the cause of fornication. By the way, you can't commit that. That was a Jewish thing, fornication. That what it's talking about there. It was a Jewish thing for a Jewish wedding. So you cannot commit that. So you can't put your wife away for fornication when you're married to it. I mean, you can't do that. So just forget about it. Causing her to commit adultery. And whosoever shall marry her that is divorced committeth adultery. And by the way, when it's talking about marrying, it's not talking about getting several wives or several husbands. It's in the past tense. I mean, it's talking singular. It's talking about one, not many. Listen to this. The Pharisees in Matthew 19 come to him and tempt him, saying, "Is it lawful to for a man to put away his wife for any cause?" And then he says, "Have you not read?" Verse 4. He answered and said to them, "Have you not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female? And said, For this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh." You know that when you're married, you become one. That doesn't sound right. When you get married to several wives, how can you become one? You're many. Wherefore, they are no more twain, but one flesh. Well, therefore God hath joined together, let no man put asunder. And then he says again in verse 9, "And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery. And whoso marrieth her which is put away, doth commit adultery." I just don't like that. I know, of course you don't. Nobody does. That's wrong. Mark 10 tells you the same thing. And they asked him, "Is it lawful for?" They asked him again. Well, this is more. Listen to this. This is them asking the Pharisees, asking, "Is it lawful to put away man for his wife?" And he asked them, and he just says, "Hey, what did Moses say to you? What did Moses command?" And then they give him about the divorcement, which was in Deuteronomy, where he divorced a couple, two married people. And Jesus said, he answered unto them, this is verse 5 of Mark 10, "For the hardness of your heart he wrote you this precept. But from the beginning of the creation God made them male and female. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and cleave to his wife." And notice it always says wife. It never says wives. "And they twain shall be one flesh." So then they are no more twain but flesh. Therefore God hath joined together, let no man put asunder. And then he says again in verse 11 and 12, "Whosoever shall put away his wife and marry another, committeth adultery against her. And if a husband shall put away her husband and be married to another, she committeth adultery." By the way, it's the same thing if you're married and you go to another. You're committing adultery. Yeah, that's what it is. If you're married and you go find somebody else, you're committing adultery. It's fornication when you're if you're not married, it's fornication. If you go out for somebody else and you're not married, it's fornication. If you're married, it's adultery. Bible says in Hebrews 13, for marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. He didn't say God might judge, he said God will. Now, 1 Corinthians 7 says, now concerning the things whereof you wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Now, that's not talking about you never touch a woman, even in marriage either. That's not what it's saying. The next verse tells you what it's talking about. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication. It's talking about fornication. Let every man have his own wife. It doesn't say wives. And let every woman have her own husband. Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife the husband. So, you see here, he constantly is in singular form. He's saying wife, husband. He's not saying wives and husbands. And also, another one. This is talking about the qualification of the preacher. Now, this is a true saying. This is 1 Timothy 3. This is a true saying. If a man desire the office of a bishop, he desireth good work. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife. So, already if these doofuses in the Mormon church, according to the Bible, since they are married one time, they are not qualified to even be a preacher. They can't be a bishop. They can't be a preacher at all. They cannot stand in the pulpit and preach to anybody and call themselves the preacher, the head of the under shepherd of the church. So, and it says that the deacons the same way. Let the deacons be the husband of one wife, husbands of one wife. 1 Timothy 3:12. Titus says the same thing. Titus 1 verse 6. If any be blameless, the husband of one wife. It's talking about elders and bishops. Same thing. So you can see where polygamy is wrong in the Bible. But again, of course they don't really care. And also in Ephesians 5:23-32, a man and his wife is a picture of Christ and his church. So so you can see that polygamy destroys that. And also God intended for a man and woman to be married as one, a man and a wife, not a man and many wives.